Stand by to initiate release sequencer. On my mark. 5.
We're on express elevator to hell. Going down.
2. 1. Mark.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mark, a.k.a. Derringer. Today is Sunday, September 10th, and you are listening to episode 122 of the Instant Action Podcast, your weekly source for Planetside 2 news and information. As always, I'm brought to you by great listeners like you via the Support the Show tab on instantactionpodcast.com. So I'm sure everyone knows by now that it's the most wonderful time of the year, and I'm not talking about kids going back to school, even though I know that is the most wonderful time of the year for some of you parents out there that are listening to this show. But I mean, it's football season in America again, and I am a huge football fan. And even though my Patriots got absolutely curb stomped like American History X style on Thursday night, I am happy that football season is back. I think football is one of the most enjoyable sports that I can just sit back and watch while I play Planetside 2. I have a dual monitor setup, which, like I'm sure the majority of you out there listening do, and I'm able to put a game on the second monitor and watch that second game while I play Planetside 2. I do it throughout the entire football season. In fact, while I'm recording, I have the Giants-Cowboys game on my second monitor right now, so I'll be watching that as everything goes through while I'm recording this week's show. It shouldn't distract me too much, and obviously, like I said, I am a huge Patriots fan, and living in Massachusetts, I have to be, but I enjoy the game of football altogether, and I can sit down and watch any football game that occurs. Doesn't matter who's playing. As long as it's a semi-competitive game, I'm happy to sit and watch it. I play a lot of fantasy football too, and I think that's probably why I'm able to enjoy multiple games and not just my own favorite team's games. But I know you guys didn't come to this or download this week's show to hear me talk about football for the entire time, even though I'm very happy that football season is back. You want to know about what's going on with me and what's going on with Planetside 2. And to tell you the truth, I only played Planetside 2 once this week, and it was just to record some footage so that I could upload last week's show to YouTube. Other than that, I have been playing a lot of Destiny 2 on the PlayStation 4. I was on the fence last week whether I was going to purchase a copy on the PlayStation 4, because obviously I've purchased it on PC already. I pre-ordered that a while ago and have been played the beta on PC and really enjoyed that. And I finally convinced myself, after seeing a number of people online, like who did I see on Twitter? Ghost Marauder, VSderp, I saw One Shot 003, people like that. Who I know from the Planetside 2 community are all playing it on the PS4 as well. And because of that, I decided to actually pull the trigger and pick up a copy of Destiny 2 on the PlayStation 4. And while I haven't been playing the hell out of it like I wanted to, I've certainly been playing that a lot more than I have been playing Planetside 2, unfortunately. And, I'm afraid of things like that every time a new game comes out, that there can be times when I need a little break from Planetside 2, so pick up a different game. And I'm hoping that Destiny 2 doesn't really do too much of that to me, because I still love Planetside 2. I'm still a huge Planetside 2 fan, and I'm really looking forward to playing more Planetside 2. But in all honesty, I'm waiting at this point for the Critical Mass update to go live, and also the Combined Arms things to go live. I'd like to see both of those things make it to live, and that is what's going to kind of shift my focus back towards Planetside 2, playing Planetside 2 more than I currently am right now. The game is kind of stagnating for me currently, and it's not my drive to get home after work, eat dinner, do the dishes, and then immediately log in and play Planetside 2 for 2 hours to end the night. I'm happy playing other games and things like that. And right now, Destiny 2 has captured my fancy at this point, and I'll play that for a month or so while it's out on the PS4, and then PC version is going to come out the end of October, and I'll probably be playing that a lot more than the PS4 version. But who knows? Maybe I will love the PS4 version, and I will give away my code for the PC version because I don't want to start a brand new character again. But either way, if you own a PlayStation 4, if you're a PS2 on PS4 listener of this show, and you haven't picked up a copy of Destiny 2, please do. It's a hell of a lot of fun of a game, especially if you like the original Destiny, and the storyline is great. It's all the Destiny nostalgia that you would expect it to be. So again, if you like Destiny and you are on the PS4 or Xbox One at this point, you should definitely pick up a copy of it and play it. Obviously, you can find me on the PS4. I am at the Derringer on PS4. So certainly feel free to friend me. And if we're in Destiny 2 together, feel free to add me to a fire team, and I'll be happy to run around and do stuff with you as well. But again, we're not here to talk about Destiny 2. We're here to talk about Planetside 2. So what is in store for this week's show? Well, first we have the critical mass playtest to talk about, followed by a small but important PS2 on PS4 patch. And then after that, I want to talk about directives, both hypothetical and upcoming. So strap in as we hot drop into another episode of the Instant Action Podcast. All right, let's start off and talk about that critical mass playtest. And I'm going to link in this week's show notes a YouTube video that Rel put out with his thoughts and everything that went on during the playtest itself. He did not provide actual in-game footage, but a number of other people did, if you're certainly curious about it. So I did not play in the critical mass playtest, and I had set aside the time to do it. But unfortunately, they moved the time back an hour. It was supposed to be, 3 Pacific, so for me that's 6 Eastern, and I was all set at home and ready to do it. But then they pushed it back to 4 Pacific, which pushed it to 7 Eastern for me, and I had to do something with my wife at 7 o'clock that night. And therefore, I missed out on the critical mass playtest. And I was all set to spend the hour from 6 to 7 doing it, but they kind of screwed me over at Daybreak Games by not allowing me to, or not working with my time schedule. And whatever, these things happen. I'm not bitter, I'm not upset, but I did not get a chance to play it, and I'm a little disappointed that I didn't get a chance to play it. But again, no fault on Daybreak Games. If they had to push it back an hour because they had issues with the test server that they need to iron out beforehand, so be it. These things happen. So, unfortunately, I'm not reporting this via first-hand information. I'm reporting it via second-hand information. But at least it's provided by Rel, so it's not some Yahoo who played and did nothing during the alert and got giving bad information. So we do know that 650 total players were around 650 players were online at the height playing the critical mass playtest. And Rel said that their goal was to try to simulate the worst 2v1 situation possible. So as a result, the Terran Republic had the most territory on the map, just because how the map was set up. But they had the least population whatsoever. There were no population controls in effect. So it would really have been surprising to them if the Terran Republic had won the alert. So it was no surprise whatsoever because TR had the most territory but the least population. They got absolutely destroyed and annihilated. But he did say that they did witness a fair amount of infighting between the Vano Sovereignty and the New Conglomerate, which is what they were hoping that they would see. Again, they weren't surprised that the Terran Republic got absolutely crushed. And in the end, the Vanu Sovereignty won the alert. They also had the most population, so it's kind of not surprising that they won the alert, so that's really would not be a normal circumstance. Under normal circumstances with a critical mass kicking off, you would assume that because VS has the most population, that they would also control the most territory, and therefore they would be the ones that should be defending in the critical mass alert. But again, Rel said that they were purposely trying to simulate the worst 2v1 situation possible. So to do that, they chose TR because they had the least population. So again, VS won the alert, and the Daybreak Games team did get a lot of valuable information from this playtest. And anyone that participated in it who does not already own it will be granted the analyst helmet at a later date. And Rel did say that they are going to be running another playtest soon, most likely this week. And they are going to put population controls in place on the PTS for this one. Again, there were no population controls in place on the other one. So what's going to happen this time around, or the next playtest around, is that whichever faction has the most population is going to be the one that launches the alert. So let's just say, for example, that everything was the same as what we just saw. VS had the most population, therefore they're the ones that would kick off the alert, and then they'd have to do the defense against both TR and NC. So it'll be interesting to see exactly what happens there. Rel did say that the goal of Daybreak Games with these alerts is for them to be tense, for players to end up playing objectives, and to create a really hectic ending. Scrambling for bases at the last minute, trying to win the alert, things like that. And hopefully when they launch the next playtest, like I said, they're hoping that to get one going this week, that they'll get more of that type of experience on it. And as we all know, Paul Giaggio said, as I reported last week, that he was going to dye his mohawk a different color if either TR or VS won, because it's currently was blue. And because VS won, apparently he is holding to his commitment and will be dyeing that mohawk purple at some time this week. So hopefully they'll tweet out or send out some official pictures of that. So I think a lot of people felt that this playtest wasn't that successful. At least players felt that way. But again, we need to realize that this is just a playtest, and it's designed, since it's on the public test server, to showcase odd situations and things like that. So I think that Daybreak Games did get a lot of valuable information from this playtest, and I would highly recommend anybody who missed this one, like me, that when the next one is announced, that you set aside that time to play in the next playtest to help provide valuable feedback. So hopefully we'll get another one. Next Friday would be great, or this upcoming Friday would be great for me. I'll schedule the time again whenever they announce it, and hopefully they don't push it back at the last minute again like last time, because I'd love to play in it, and if I do play in it, I will live stream whatever's going on, so anybody that wants to watch it certainly can watch it. So that was the first round of the Critical Mass playtest, and we'll see when the next one is, and obviously watch Twitter, because Planetside 2 will announce it, and I will also retweet it once I see that information. All right, second topic this week is going to be a quickie, but on September 5th in the EU and September 6th in the US, the Planetside 2 on PlayStation 4 got a server update. Now, this is not a game update or a patch or anything like that, but what Daybreak Games did was they deployed a speculative fix to the Infinite Repair glitch. They were after deploying this fix internally in their development environment, they were unable to reproduce the bug. So they can't 100% guarantee that the fix is going to work, but they are hoping that it's not going to continue to happen in the game itself. And I know a lot of people were upset because people were people on the PlayStation 4 were providing, step-by-step instructions to reproduce the bug itself. But it's at this point perhaps in the development environment, which would be different than the live game environment. They'd pushed all the stuff through to fix it already. I do know that reading on the PS4 or PS2 on PS4 subreddit that people are saying that the glitch appears to be fixed at this point. I know there was at least one thread on it, and I'm not seeing the large number of complaints regarding it anymore on either of the Reddits or the forums or anything like that. So I do think that this fix finally did go through and finally corrected this issue. I know it's been one of the more annoying things going on the PS2 on PS4 version of the game itself. So if Daybreak Games did finally get this corrected, I know a lot of people that may have been not playing on the PS4 for a while will come back to playing on the PS4 itself. I do also know that some bans did go through for some of the more egregious players who were manipulating this infinite repair glitch within the game itself, so that may also be pushing people not to use it within the game itself. And the last thing that I read on it is that you can kind of still do the steps to make it happen, but it's not actually repairing, even though it makes the kind of shimmering effect to the vehicle like it's being repaired, but the repairing isn't actually happening on the vehicle currently. So it does look like this is fixed. If you've been holding off on playing on the PlayStation 4 because of this, it's time for you to download the update and get back into the game and play a little bit more. Again, just a small fix for you guys on the PlayStation 4. All right, let's move on to directives. And I said I was going to talk about both hypothetical and upcoming directives. Thanks to Shadow Insignius for sending me or pointing me in this direction, but I had also seen it online. A post by 4WRY Reddit about adding more meaningful directives to the game itself. This is something I think Planetside 2 needs. So having a nice, concise post on Reddit like this person put together is actually a great idea, and something I think Daybreak Games needs to actually sit down and look at and think about adding to the game itself. I think that we're at a point within the game where a lot of people who are farming directives have finished the majority of the directives that they were trying to do, and it might be a good idea to think about adding some new directives to the game itself so you can kind of get those directive whores, I guess is the best way to describe them. The anal retentive folks that need to complete directives into the game with some new stuff to do. And again, this post breaks down quite a lot of some prospective directives to add to the game itself that might be missing. A big one is Scout Radar support. It's featured on a lot of vehicles, Flash, Valk, ESFs, Ants, etc. However, Scout Radar ribbons are absent from pretty much all the directive trees for all those different vehicles. Also, the Sunderer could have its proximity radar changed to Scout Radar and perhaps move that over to a utility as an alternative to what's already there. If you're adding this type of thing to squad vehicles, it's going to reward drivers and pilots for providing recon to the team itself. So again, adding a Scout Radar support one to a lot of different things might be an actual good idea. Next, he suggests logistic ribbons. So Sunder is currently offering the logistic ribbon directive for providing repair and ammos. That should be something that could be extended to Galaxies because they also have a repair one and an ammo one, giving something for Galaxy pilots to do. Next one for rumble seat repairs. Obviously, harassers and Valkyries have their rumble seats, and people are repairing in them constantly. That could be a huge one for Valkyries in particular, which a lot of people complain about getting the kills in the back of a Valkyrie in one of the rumble seats rather than adding something like this could take away from the onerous having to get those kills in one of the seats of a Valkyrie itself. Good idea. I certainly think that that's one to look at. Next one for tactical drop kills, equivalent to Galaxy or Valkyrie pilots getting transport assist XP. It could feature tactical drops, kills, or ribbons for those that drop out of the aircraft to take out targets. Different than the actual rumble seat kills in the Valkyrie itself. I kind of like this one because maybe you don't have to necessarily tie it to Galaxy or Valkyrie, but it could be another infantry one or some sort of general one where if you're dropping out of a Galaxy or dropping out of a Valkyrie that you can get these certain ribbons for doing something like that. I kind of like that one. Next, talking about ants. The ant directives are largely independent of base building currently, and it's missing directives for things like having active hives, rewarding ribbons every set amount of cordium that gets refined, or getting kills with orbital strikes, or getting turret kills, people spawning there, people resupplying there, things like that. A bunch of those things could be added to the ant or added to a overall construction tree itself for various directives. Next, moving on to the ESF. The Liberator has tank kills, which the ESFs don't have tank kills. So it'd be interesting to add something like that to ESFs. You could add that same thing for ESFs killing galaxies or Liberators specifically instead of just straight up air kills. So I kind of like that, adding those different things to ESFs. It would give pilots a little bit more to do and other various directives that they could work on. Moving on to infantry itself. The goal of all of these is to focus on squad and objective-related actions, which is something that the critical mass update is supposed to be pushing within the game itself. So medics themselves could have a directive for squad revive and heals, and possibly for the forward spawn station, if that actually becomes a thing in the game. They could also have revives for maxes in its own tree as well. Engineers should get a max kill for their directive tree. So if they get a max kill with an engineer tank mine or with the archer itself, that could be a good one. Also, repairing a max could be a good dedicated tree. It rewards supporting the team and being a pocket engineer for a max user. I definitely like both of those much more than I like trying to get the barrier ribbons because those are a pain in the ass. Infiltrators. Most of the infiltrator stuff right now is just basically based on kills, so you could diversify it up a bit more and maybe add kills with sidearms or kills with knives. I mean, Stalker Infiltrator with just knives right now is a huge metagame, so I could certainly see that. Also, if they ever get vehicle hacking into the game, I would expect to see that as a directive on the infiltrator tree also. There's nothing currently for EMP assists or decoy assists. That would be nice for getting people to use EMPs more, since that seems to have dropped off a bit. And also, nobody uses decoy grenades that I know of, so I'd love to see that maybe push people to use decoy grenades. Light assaults could get flash assists as the directive when supporting pushes into point rooms. Again, if they're throwing a flash grenade in and then friendlies are getting kills after that flash grenade goes through, that's a great one for light assaults. Also, if killing maxes with C4, I'd love to see that as a separate directive from the vehicle destructive directive altogether. That's a good one for light assaults. You could also have that exact same thing for heavy assaults as well. For heavies themselves, the heavy assault lacks a directive for vehicle kills. Just adding both air kills and vehicle kills to the tree will give a big incentive for heavy assaults to damage and destroy vehicles. That would go really well together with the tactical drop one they suggested for Galaxies and Valkyries. So for maxes, I think this is the last infantry, and I know a lot of people don't consider maxes infantry, but I still do. Punch, that directive is pretty much useless now that charge is gone from the game itself. So maybe emphasizing the role of max crashes, maybe adding a damage soaked to the tree instead would be a good one. I'd love to see that one. And also adding gun-specific Araxiums for the maxes. I mean, you don't realize it because I don't think everybody plays max constantly, but none of the max weapons are available in an Araxium form. So I think that would be an interesting addition to the game. Or even so, adding a new gun for maxes that is an Araxium version of some of the other ones. I think that would be a very interesting change to the game itself. Next, moving on to leadership. Add base defensives to the directives. Platoon conquest only rewards captures, not defenses. So adding defenses would be a big one to add to leadership. You could also reward outfit or squad participation. For example, XP gained with squads or simply being in an outfit for several months. That would be something good to add to the leadership tree itself. Bounties there's so little stuff built into bounties. Obviously, it's just only kills, but it would be funny to add being bountied to the tree itself. You'd certainly benefit from that when playing against me during double XP weekend, since I tend to bounty everyone in sight. So that might be a nice addition to the bounties tree itself, and it would give a decent chance for some players who maybe aren't the best at killing people with a bounty on them to perhaps earn some additional things. I can kind of see how that might get exploited, though, if somebody goes in and throws a ton on a friend or something like that. So we'd have to see about that one. Finally, moving on to vehicles in general. He mentioned stuff about tactical drop, scout radar, etc., but a lot of the NS weapons are absent from the vehicle trees, apart from just kills in general. So it might be neat to add some of the NS stuff to the game. Also, flashes themselves, they're a solo vehicle. It might be interesting to add what happens when you have a heavy assault on the back. Rumble seat kills for the Flash could be interesting because, again, it's really a one-person vehicle. So, again, these are just some ideas that he came up with, and I enjoyed reading through them, and I thought to myself that a lot of these could be added into the game without too much work by the Daybreak Games team. So, hopefully they saw this post as well and are thinking about perhaps adding some of these things to the game also. Again, I just think changing it up a little, adding some new things, it reinvigorates some of the player base that may be stepping away from the game for whatever reason. So hopefully they think about something like this. And maybe the next topic I'm about to talk to says that they are. So fourth and final topic is a post that we just saw recently. Rel tweeted that we are going to be getting an all-new Halloween directive this year. So again, like I said, this piggybacks on the last topic on this week's show, because if they are adding a new directive for Halloween, maybe they're thinking about adding some other directives. Now, unfortunately, Rel gave no other information other than that we're going to be getting one. So we're just going to have to sit back at this point and wait to see what it is. I mean, we're 20 or so days away from October. I forget when the Halloween stuff ran last year, but obviously Halloween's the end of October, so it should be coming up pretty soon. Hopefully we'll get some more information on this in the next few weeks or so. I do like to play during Halloween. You get all those people wearing their nice skull masks at this point, and makes it easier to pick them out when you're playing a sniper specifically. So Halloween is definitely a fun time of the year. I do hope that it doesn't have to do with killing pumpkins. I'm tired of killing pumpkins, and farming pumpkins on closed continents is kind of annoying. So I'll be interesting to see what this new actual directive is going to be. But with that, let's move on to housekeeping this week.
Housekeeping. Housekeeping.
Come back later, please.
Housekeeping.
Not now.
Housekeeping.
Go away.
I coming anyway?
All right, I did get one email, and that was from Matt9, and Matt9 wrote, "Thanks for another great show. I have had several people suggest to me Destiny 2, and while I think the game looks great, I feel it lacks depth in combat compared to PS2. I think this is mostly due to the scope of battles in PS2 and the way infantry, armor, and air integrate so well together to make the combined experience much more varied. I hope you have a great time playing Destiny 2, but don't forget us over here on Araxis. Matt9, thank you for that email. Destiny 2 has its niche. It is certainly much more a single-player game than a multiplayer game. It nowhere near has the depth of combat, like you said, of Planetside 2. It is a much smaller game than Planetside 2, but I do enjoy the solo aspect of it, and I love playing around. And the story is one of the things that really draws me into Destiny 2. It was one of the things I liked about the original Destiny was the good story and the varied classes and things like that. It's just a change of pace, and I'm definitely not going to be forgetting about Planetside 2, so you don't have to worry about that. But again, thank you for that email. So that is going to be it for this week's show. How can you get in touch with me or the show? Well, as always, you can first visit my website, www.instantactionpodcast.com. Next, you can email me like Matt9 did at instantactionshow@gmail.com. I will always read your emails on the show and answer any questions you have. You can call me, leave me a voicemail at 347-4VM-4PS2 or 347-486-4772. The show's Twitter account is at InstActPodcast, and my personal Twitter is at The Derringer. So in closing, if you've enjoyed the show, please leave me a review on your podcast listening avenue of choice, whether it's iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or anywhere else. Also, feel free to tell your friends and outfit mates about the show. And finally, thanks for listening, and keep spamming that Join Combat, formerly known as Instant Action button.